So Justin was raised in San Jose and graduated from Lincoln High School in the class of 2018. And that's where he developed a passion for volunteering, joining Key Club with his friends in sophomore year and volunteering every weekend. Somewhere along the road, he realized he had a fondness for cooking and moved to Oregon for 2 years to attend the Oregon Culinary Institute. He earned his AOS in hospitality and management. And after receiving his degree, he moved back to San Jose and is now working for the Rise Against Hunger warehouse in Hayward. I will let Justin tell you more about Rise Against Hunger. Take it
Okay, awesome. All right, hey everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Justin, and I'm an event specialist at Rise Against Hunger. A little note: this is actually my first time presenting virtually, so I am quite nervous, and I have this bad habit of speaking too quickly when I am nervous. So if you catch me doing that, please call me out, and I will slow down. All right, so without further ado. So Rise Against Hunger's entire mission is to end world hunger, and we are aligned with United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 2 of ending hunger. Since 1998, when we were known as Stop Hunger Now, we've distributed hundreds of millions of meals to over 74 countries. And this is our founding father, Dr. Ray Buchanan, who used to be a United Methodist minister. I'm going to talk about something called the 4 main pathways that we have at Rise Against Hunger, but here is like a short overview through a video.
At this moment, hundreds of millions of people around the globe do not have the food they need to live healthy, active lives. At Rise Against Hunger, our mission is to reduce that number to 0 by the year 2030. Our approach centers around 4 pathways to end hunger: nourishing lives, empowering communities, responding to emergencies, and growing the movement. These pathways address the root causes of hunger and poverty in communities worldwide, changing the future for decades to come, nourishing lives through the distribution of nutritious meals to vulnerable populations, empowering communities by focusing on agricultural production and micro-enterprise, responding to emergencies to meet immediate needs and provide support on the path to recovery, growing the movement to end hunger around the globe. By working with volunteers around the globe to package nutritious meals for those in critical need and implementing sustainable solutions to hunger in communities worldwide. We enable children and families to rise and break the cycle of poverty. But we can't achieve this alone. Please join us. Donate today at riseagainsthunger.org/donate to make zero hunger possible.
So at Rise Against Hunger, we have those 4 main pathways. And so nourishing lives is revolved entirely around our meal packing programs, which we have, where we have a bunch of volunteers come and package soy, dehydrated vegetables, and rice, and then they get sent all over the world. We empower communities by providing program grants and establishing programs of our own throughout the third world countries. And we respond to emergencies such as hurricanes, wildfires, and other natural disasters such as those. And we grow the movement by educating others on the state of hunger in the world and what they can do to help. So our goal is to end hunger by 2030, and that's because of the 7.6 billion people alive right now. Over 821 million are suffering from chronic hunger and malnutrition on a daily basis, and that's 1 in 9 people. One way we're trying to achieve this is through our feeding programs, and we're tying our feeding programs into school programs in third world countries, because families will often have to choose between sending their children to school or staying at home to do chores and procure food and stuff like that. So by having a feeding program already implemented in a school, we're encouraging the family to send its children to receive an education while at the same time also being fed. So again, at the meal packing events that we do, we have soy, dehydrated vegetables, rice. And there's also this one last thing, vitamin sachets. And this is generously donated to us by Kraft Heinz, the macaroni company, actually. And in each of these vitamin sachets, we have iron, zinc, selenium, iodine, vitamin A, and so on. And we include all these vitamins and minerals because in third world countries, a lot of the time, people will get illnesses such as iodine deficiency disorder just because they can't receive the necessary nutrients they need through problems such as not having access to those ingredients or not being able to afford them. A couple of things we did in 2019, we were able to package over 77 million meals with the help of 415,282 volunteers, and this happened over 3,702 events all over the globe. And we were able to serve 36 countries and have a total of 37 partners and distribute $307,663 through grants. Here are a bunch of our key partners. It's not all of them, but they are the ones that help us a bunch throughout the entire year, like since our creation. And look, here's Rotary over here. So this slide is built really for advertising our mealpacking events, but it doesn't really matter much to this presentation because a lot of the organizations in the Bay Area are opposed to gathering together and doing these types of events. But just in case you would like to do an event with us when COVID dies down, I'll present it anyway. So some benefits, it's a branded club event. It's a partnership between Rise Against Hunger and Rotary. It's a hands-on international service project. It's a membership building event because everyone's packing together, everyone's having a good time, get to know each other a little bit more, and we get to know about you guys as well and build connections. It's an outstanding youth services project, and the people who help fundraise for these events develop leadership qualities that will serve to help a lot in the future. And of course, they are family friendly. We always make sure to present really family friendly music, and that could be anywhere from like Earth, Wind, and Fire to Michael Jackson. And last but not least, it transforms the lives of the volunteers and the people we serve. So a little COVID-19 update. These are some of the most at-risk countries right now because of COVID-19. Yemen, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Afghanistan, Venezuela, Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, Syria, Somalia, Nigeria, and Haiti. And these countries before COVID-19 were already super food insecure. They have like some of the highest ratings on the globe, and it's only gotten worse because of COVID-19. COVID-19, from what I've heard, doesn't have a very high fatality rate. It's only around 1%, I believe. I'm not sure if that is true, but it is very low. And although someone may survive with COVID-19 in third world countries, they may die to hunger because of paying for the necessary treatment. And 130 million are considered acutely undernourished, and that's expected to double because of COVID-19. And what it means to be acutely undernourished is when like your ribs and all of your bones are basically showing through your skin. And that's just like one trait of it, along with like other illnesses. Oh, okay, so a couple of empowering community projects. In Senegal, we are doing the Leveraging Agriculture to Unite Communities and Hospitals project, otherwise known as Launch. And in Senegal, over 20% of total households are food insecure. And in this Ziguinchor County specifically, children under 5, 31% of them are food insecure and are chronically ill, and 9% of people with HIV are as well. And so families will often have to choose between either paying transportation costs to go to the health center or paying for meals for their families. And pregnant women, young mothers, and undernourished children are all really at-risk populations. And so gardening is a much more viable option to them as compared to like wide-scale farming. And so we're establishing these like mini community gardens all over the place to kind of help them work in them and build a economy. Another project in Mali is elevating women and youth farmers. In Mali, over 65% of the population is rural, and women and youth farmers make up over half of the entire workforce. However, they have little access to their own land and livestock, and the goal of this project is to basically provide them with those, as well as with climate smart activities so that they can sustainably farm. We are doing the Planting Seeds for Strong Communities project in Zimbabwe. The 2015 to 2016 El Nino conditions for the planting season caused the country's worst drought in 35 years. And so there's a severe food and water shortage. This project establishes school feeding programs through 5 schools in the Gokwe North District. And in these schools, the meal programs are entirely, they revolve around getting ingredients locally and procuring them. And the school themselves will grow the grains and the vegetables while they get the other things through other farmers that are nearby. And we're also training community farmers, community members to grow their own grains and sunflower seeds, which will then be sold to the schools, and the schools will use them as part of their meals. And here are a couple of our beneficiaries. We're doing this fundraising campaign, telling people that for 1 box of Rise Against Hunger meals, that's 216 meals. One of those feeds 1 child for an entire school year. And obviously you are not obligated to donate at all. This is not sponsored or anything. I just wanted to let you all know that this was out there, that we were accepting donations. And I'll send Brandy a link to a donation page right after this in case anyone would be interested in helping us out. And one motto that we like to go by is, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. And that is all for the presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Sure, I'll start. The $75 to help 1 child, do you actually know who that child is? Do you get to connect with them? Are they identified? In other words, do you have I don't want to say necessarily a relationship, but do you have an identity?
Unfortunately, we don't. We have these small excerpts of personal stories on our websites, but volunteers will have to look at the pages themselves. But we don't have any form of like Postmates or personal connection from volunteer or donor to one exact beneficiary, unfortunately.
Okay.
Are you on the ground in the countries where the recipients are, or are you doing most of your work from this end? And if yes, then who is at the other end to receive the donations?
All of my work as an event specialist is to basically facilitate the events where the volunteers are and package all the meals together. And then those get sent overseas to people that are in those countries from our organization, and they get distributed through containers through different schools and different programs. And from there, they handle where the meals get distributed.
So you Rise Against Hunger actually has people on the ground in the receiving countries.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was me.
A part of our Empowering Communities projects are like these school programs that are created by us. So we kind of need to physically be there to monitor them. And we also have like farming. We teach people to farm basically too. So that's another way that we're able to connect with people on the ground in those countries.
And if I can piggyback on one thing, one of the big themes in Rotary is sustainability.
Yes.
So what are the principles that you are applying to create sustainability?
We're trying to steer people towards being able to provide for themselves, because we can give them as many freebies as we want. We can give them as many meals as we want, but if we can teach them to farm through, such as teaching them like how to use the soil in the area or how to adapt to their environment, then they can farm for themselves and carry on from there.
Speaking of farming, what is Rise's position on genetically modified crops as a means of producing greater yields?
I actually don't know if we have a position on that, unfortunately. I'm sorry. That's
Fair
a
enough.
very good question, though.
Different side. I was curious, what does a packing event look like? You know, I know some of us are interested in doing a service project with reasonable like precautions. And so I'm just curious what that looks like and what the output typically is for club.
I can give you like very specific numbers through words, but let me just find a video so it's a little easier to
Okay, good.
to show you. Yeah, 1 second.
And
Okay.
then I guess related to that, how often were you guys doing packing events?
For our location specifically, our office is in Hayward, and throughout the entire year, I believe we were able to do close to 100 events in 2019. But with COVID entering the scene in like early March, we've only been able to do like a couple dozen at the beginning of the year. And since COVID, we've only been able to do around 5 or 6. So we've been very, very like out of work and just trying to do as best as we can to keep up the organization. All right, so here is a video, hopefully. All right, so that is what an event looks like.
Seems fairly easy. I have some people in our club that they're really good at packing boxes.
Okay, that's cool.
I've actually done one of the events with your organization in Chicago, and it kind of reminds you of an old Lucille Ball episode on a conveyor belt. You're just trying to keep up with it, but and the numbers that you come away with, I mean, it was like 10,000 meals. It was a substantial number at the end of the day. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool that you were able to volunteer with Chicago. As an events facilitator, I might be moved to a different location eventually, and it might be able to get to work with the Chicago location. So that'd be pretty cool.
Right.
And I was doing this video, I was thinking about Will's question on GMO foods. And I actually learned about that while I was in culinary school. I'm just expressing my personal opinion. This is not a reflection on Rise Against Hunger's opinion at all, but basically, I think that GMO foods that help to feed more people and nutritiously, I think it's a really good idea, such as golden rice, if you have ever heard of it. Golden rice is a GMO, genetically modified food that provides all the necessary nutrients and all that stuff to people at a very like low amount. So it's like super healthy, but at the same time being super cost efficient. So if we were able to adapt to something like that, I think it could help out a lot of people.
And that was going to be my question. Oh, sorry.
Not good.
Where do you guys get most of your food? Do you guys purchase it, or is it primarily donated, or?
Oh, we all source them from people from specific. It depends on the location, basically. So where our headquarters, is in North Carolina. So we may get the rice and soy and all that from a specific company that's located near there. But in the Hayward area, we're connected to Sacramento location, and so we'll get food from like a farmer near Sacramento and stuff like that. But there have been a couple accidents at events where we show up with the pallet and the entire thing is like infested. Funny thing, I actually went to an event, or I facilitated an event this weekend. It was my first solo event ever since joining Rise Against Hunger, and one of the rice pots was entirely infested. So the last shift was basically left with nothing to use. So we had to think on our feet really quickly and go to Costco and buy like 9 bags and go back as soon as possible and then purchase a whole new pallet for the next morning shift.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been with Rise? You kind of
I've
mentioned.
been with Rise since March, but that was my first solo event because we just haven't been able to train, like I should be.
Wow.
Sure.
You pivoted. It's fine.
Yeah.
Is there a specific reason for the precision and how much weight goes into each bag?
It's just so that we can track exactly how much food is going to each destination. We like to keep these numbers because we have to report them, and we're like a 4-star on Charity Navigator, if you guys know what that means. basically means that we're good with our money. Like to summarize it, we're good with our money, and we take donations in. We use them to help people as much as possible. Basically, is how I would describe it.
We're very accountable.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Good question. So if we wanted to organize something, like what would that look like in terms of how much lead time would we need with your organization?
So an event is generally around an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on whatever you want. But the meals themselves honestly cost a little much. Well, not the meals themselves, but each meal basically is 34 cents. And a standard event is 10,000 meals, but that was pre-COVID. So now 3,400 is a more suitable number. And 20 people could package that in about an hour to an hour and a half. So if you were to elevate that to around 5,000 meals or so with 20 people, you'd be looking at let me calculate that real quick. The price of each meal takes into account how much it costs to produce, as well as how much it costs to transport that meals, to feed, to everyone's salary, as well as overhead and all that stuff. So it takes into account not just the ingredients, but like everything that Rise does as a whole. So let me look at how much a $5,000 meal, a 5,000 meal event would look. 5,000 times 34 cents. So the cost to organize a 5,000 meal event would be $1,700. A little bit daunting, a lot of fundraising for sure. And it's something that you have to fundraise for over time. Yeah.
Okay.
So in a packaging event, you end up paying for the food as well as doing the labor.
Yes, so like that price that I just gave you, $1,700 for 5,000 meals, that takes into account everything. The ingredients that we need to bring, the trucking, the employees that were involved with the entire process, everything that we had to do for it, basically.
Very cool.
But as a group of volunteers, you expect us to not just volunteer our time, but also to donate the funds necessary to put on the event.
That is entirely up to the club. If the club has previous funds, then they can use that to fund the event. But if the club wants to have wants to have the members all pitch in, that is also another option. But we leave that entirely up to the organization that works with us.
Another question.
How many locations are there either across the country or across the world that do these kinds of events, or like your office?
In the U.S., I believe we have I don't know the top off the top of my head. It's on our website somewhere, but I would believe it's around 100 locations in just the U.S. We have one in India, one in Singapore, one in Italy, one in the Philippines, and one in South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah.
And does all the humanitarian efforts or relief just kind of go to the list of the ones you had in your slide, or does any of that go to people in the U.S.? Or is
all of our meals get sent overseas. We like to impact the world internationally, basically, but we don't focus too much in the U.S. Yeah.
Just curious. Any other questions?
Not so much a question, but I thought your guys' logo is super cool. With the growth and then the water at the top. I thought that was super awesome.
Thank you. I like it too. I got a little hat actually. Let me.
Oh,
Laurel.
Little thing.
oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I like wearing this.
Yeah, that's a very cool hat.
Cover. I love how fitting it is that you're in your kitchen doing a.
I know.
It's just the most spacious, where people can see me.
But it feels very intentional, so I think like that's a very smart choice on your end. Well, if there's no other question, I really appreciate your presentation. I thought it was really informative, and I also appreciate that you reached out to me because I was kind of wondering what to kind of discuss this week. And it's interesting, a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about besides next week's League of Women Voters talk the following week is kind of someone in the food business.
Oh, okay.
The talk might not necessarily revolve around food, but just promoting like experiential marketing maybe, or community building.
I see.
So it's like, oh, I feel like I have a theme.
Yeah, I appreciate it a lot that you reached out to me so fast. You were like the first person to respond when I sent out the emails to Rotary, and like we just scheduled the appointment so fast. It was just like everything lined up really well, and like it was nice presenting to this club because everyone's so lively and nice. And like if I was, I'm basically saying that I'm glad that this was my first club to present to.
Great job.
Yeah.
Well, we're happy to be the guinea pigs.
Did great.
Yeah, and I
Thank
think
you.
it helps that our crew is curious. I did have one more question, Justin.
Yes.
What was culinary school like for you, and like what are some key takeaways that you think you could offer to us in our own kitchens now?
So culinary school. Part of me wants to say it's a scam, but part of me also really liked it. I got to meet a lot of really cool people in culinary school, like people who didn't know how to cook before coming, just like me. I went to culinary school without having any cooking knowledge, basically. And I got to meet a bunch of chefs that were super experienced in the field, and I got to learn different cuisines. So I got to learn like how to cook with a lot of different spices from Nepal, from Thailand, Vietnam, even learning like French cooking and all that. And culinary school to me was a very worthwhile experience, but I would say for sure that it's not something that you should get into unless you really want to have that certification to become a chef. And maybe a little advice from me. Salt, I guess. Salt is like the most important thing in the kitchen. You need to season all your food to bring out the flavor, basically. So if you forget the salt, you don't have any flavor. So
Too true.
That's useful advice for everyone here that's becoming a home chef.
No more every day.
Do the chefs yell at you a lot, like Gordon Ramsay, or is that just on TV?
That Gordon Ramsay that's all an act. Actually, I actually knew a chef that has met Gordon, and he's actually apparently a really sweet person in person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd always heard stories that it's very like verbally abusive, like in kitchens in general,
Yeah.
but that's just,
It's very varying. Some kitchens for sure, like the top Michelin star chefs in French will yell at you. They will make you cry and like make you regret ever joining their kitchen. But definitely not every kitchen's like that. My culinary school at least wasn't like that.
cool.
Brandy, you didn't tell him that one of the other things that makes his talk especially well accepted is that most of us haven't had dinner yet.
Yeah.
We can identify with the hungry in the world.
We normally, when we used to meet pre-COVID, this was like when we would have like our takeout of the week, and so we pick up something in Oakland, downtown.
Oh.
Justin, as a thank you for coming to speak with us, we are showing thanks by donating some vaccines in your name to End Polio Now. If you're a little bit familiar with Rotary, I think I did play this in order for you to see this. We've been working for more than 30 years to eradicate polio in the world, and recently Africa was declared polio-free. And so I think there's only 2 more countries that we need to tackle. So we're donating these vaccines in your name as a thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you.